Hello everyone, Dr. Alan Mandell here. Welcome back to my channel, Science of Healing. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that something as simple as one daily cup could help protect your heart, improve circulation, and support cleaner, healthier arteries. Today, we're going to talk about a powerful, natural drink that has been studied for its ability to support blood flow, reduce blood pressure, and help your arteries function the way they were designed to. That drink is beetroot juice. Every second of your life, your heart is pushing blood through nearly 100,000 miles of blood vessels, delivering oxygen, nutrients, and life itself to every cell in your body. Yet most people never realize that these vital pathways can slowly tighten, stiffen, and silently set the stage for heart attacks and strokes long before symptoms ever appear. Right now, millions of people are walking around with arteries that are becoming narrower and less flexible, not because of one dramatic event, but because of years of subtle damage caused by poor diet, stress, lack of movement, and inflammation that quietly builds up day after day. And here is the frightening truth. Cardiovascular disease remains the #1 cause of death worldwide, claiming more lives each year than all cancers combined. Yet many of these deaths could be prevented with simple daily habits that support the natural healing power of the body. But there is one tiny molecule invisible to the naked eye that scientists consider one of the most important guardians of your arteries. A molecule so powerful that it can determine whether your blood vessels stay open and flexible or become stiff and dangerous. That molecule is called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide acts like a signal that tells your blood vessels to relax, expand, and allow blood to flow smoothly, reducing pressure on the heart and protecting delicate tissues from damage caused by restricted circulation. When nitric oxide levels are healthy, your arteries behave like soft, flexible tubes that easily carry blood to your brain, your muscles, and your organs, allowing your body to function efficiently, think clearly, and move with energy. But when nitric oxide levels drop, something alarming begins to happen inside your body, something that most people never feel until it is too late. Your arteries begin to stiffen, blood flow becomes restricted, blood pressure starts to rise, and the risk of heart attack and stroke begins to climb silently year after year. Researchers have discovered that as people age, their natural production of nitric oxide can decline dramatically, sometimes by as much as 50%, which means that even healthy individuals can slowly lose the protective flexibility of their blood vessels without realizing it. This decline is not just about aging, it is also influenced by lifestyle choices, including diets low in vegetables, high levels of stress hormones, smoking, and physical inactivity, all of which damage the delicate lining of the arteries known as the endothelium. The endothelium is like the control center of your blood vessels, constantly releasing nitric oxide to keep circulation smooth and steady. But when this lining becomes inflamed or damaged, nitric oxide production falls and the door opens for dangerous plaque buildup to begin. Plaque is not just a simple blockage. It is a complex mixture of cholesterol, calcium, and inflammatory cells that stick to the artery walls like glue, gradually narrowing the passageway that blood must travel through to keep you alive. Over time, this narrowing can become so severe that a single clot can completely block the artery, cutting off oxygen to the heart or brain within minutes, leading to a heart attack or stroke that can change a life forever. Yet the human body is remarkably resilient, and scientists have discovered that certain foods can naturally boost nitric oxide levels and help restore the flexibility of blood vessels, giving the body a powerful tool to protect itself from damage. One of the most studied foods for this purpose is beetroot, a deep red vegetable that contains natural compounds called nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide after you consume them. This process begins in your mouth, where beneficial bacteria help transform dietary nitrates into nitrites, and continues in your bloodstream, where these compounds are converted into nitric oxide that travels directly to your blood vessels. Within just a few hours of drinking beetroot juice, studies have shown measurable increases in nitric oxide levels, along with significant reductions in blood pressure, sometimes by as much as 4 to 10 points, an effect comparable to some medications. Scientists have observed that improved nitric oxide production can enhance blood flow to the heart, the brain, and the muscles, allowing oxygen to reach tissues more efficiently and reducing the strain placed on the cardiovascular system. This is why athletes often use beetroot juice to improve endurance and performance, because better circulation means muscles receive more oxygen, fatigue is delayed, and energy levels remain higher for longer periods of time. But the benefits go far beyond athletic performance. Healthy nitric oxide levels can help protect the inner lining of your arteries from damage caused by inflammation and oxidative stress, two major factors that accelerate the aging of blood vessels and increase the risk of chronic disease. Inflammation acts like a slow-burning fire inside the body, damaging tissues and weakening the structure of the arteries, while oxidative stress creates unstable molecules that attack healthy cells and trigger further injury. Nitric oxide works like a natural shield, calming inflammation, improving circulation, and helping blood vessels remain smooth and flexible even as the years pass. Researchers have also found that improved blood flow to the brain can support sharper memory, faster thinking, and better concentration, especially in older adults who may be experiencing reduced circulation due to aging. This means that something as simple as supporting nitric oxide production could influence not only heart health, but also mental clarity, physical stamina, and overall quality of life. Imagine waking up each morning knowing that your blood vessels are relaxed, your circulation is strong, and your heart is not struggling against resistance with every beat. Imagine climbing stairs without feeling short of breath, walking longer distances without fatigue, and feeling confident that you are actively protecting your body from one of the world's most dangerous diseases. All of this begins with small, consistent choices made every single day. Drinking 1 cup of a nitrate-rich beverage like beetroot juice is not a miracle cure, but it is a scientifically supported habit that can strengthen your body's natural defenses and support the health of your arteries over time. Consistency is what transforms a simple action into a life-changing result. 1 cup today may seem insignificant, but 1 cup every day for months and years can create measurable improvements in blood vessel function, blood pressure, and overall cardiovascular health. And perhaps the most powerful message of all is this: your arteries are not fixed structures that inevitably decline with age. They are living tissues that respond to the nutrients, movement, and care you provide them. Every healthy choice you make sends a signal to your body to repair, protect, and strengthen itself. Every nourishing drink you consume becomes fuel for healing. Every step you take toward better circulation becomes an investment in a longer, healthier life. Your heart has been beating faithfully since the day you were born, never taking a single day off, never asking for recognition, quietly working to keep you alive through every challenge and every triumph. The question is not whether your heart will continue to work hard for you. The question is whether you will give it the support it needs to keep going strong for decades to come. What most people don't realize is that heart disease doesn't begin with pain, and it doesn't begin with a warning. It begins quietly, deep inside the walls of your arteries, where invisible damage accumulates for years before the first symptom ever appears. And by the time the body finally speaks, it is often already in crisis. Inside your blood vessels, a constant battle is taking place every single second of your life. A battle between damage and repair, between inflammation and healing, between survival and silent destruction that most people never even feel happening within them. Scientists now understand that chronic inflammation is one of the most powerful driving forces behind cardiovascular disease, not just as a side effect, but as a core mechanism that actively damages the delicate inner lining of arteries and accelerates the formation of dangerous plaque. This inflammation is not the same as a cut or a fever. It is a slow, hidden biological stress response that keeps the body in a constant state of alert, releasing chemicals that over time begin to damage healthy tissues instead of protecting them. When inflammation becomes chronic, it turns the normally smooth and protective inner lining of your arteries into a rough and sticky surface where cholesterol particles can easily attach and begin the dangerous process of plaque formation. And once that process begins, it does not stop on its own. Low-density lipoprotein, commonly known as LDL cholesterol, becomes oxidized in the presence of inflammation and oxidative stress, transforming from a normal fat-carrying particle into a harmful substance that actively contributes to arterial damage. This oxidized LDL is what triggers immune cells to rush into the artery walls, creating even more inflammation, more damage, and a cycle that slowly narrows blood vessels over time. Researchers have found that this ongoing inflammatory cycle is a key factor in atherosclerosis, the condition responsible for most heart attacks and strokes worldwide, yet it often progresses silently for decades without obvious symptoms. What makes this even more alarming is that lifestyle factors such as processed foods, excess sugar, chronic stress, lack of sleep, and exposure to environmental toxins can all increase inflammatory markers in the body, pushing the cardiovascular system further into a state of constant internal stress. But within this story of damage, there is also a powerful story of repair, because the human body is equipped with natural defense systems designed to fight inflammation and restore balance when given the right support. One of the most important of these defense systems involves antioxidants, powerful compounds that neutralize unstable molecules known as free radicals before they can damage healthy cells and tissues. Free radicals are highly reactive molecules that are produced naturally in the body, but when their levels become too high due to poor diet or environmental stress, they begin to attack the lining of blood vessels, contributing directly to inflammation and arterial aging. This is where certain foods become biologically powerful tools, not just sources of energy, but sources of molecular protection that can influence how the body ages and how well the cardiovascular system functions over time. Beetroot is one of those foods that science continues to study for its remarkable ability to support vascular health through its unique combination of antioxidants, plant compounds, and anti-inflammatory properties. Deep within its rich red color are natural pigments called betalains, compounds that researchers have identified as potent antioxidants, capable of reducing oxidative stress and calming inflammatory pathways in the body. When oxidative stress decreases, the chain reaction that damages artery walls begins to slow down, giving the body a chance to repair itself instead of constantly fighting ongoing injury. Studies suggest that betalains may help inhibit certain inflammatory enzymes and signaling molecules that are involved in chronic disease processes, including those linked to cardiovascular damage. This means that something as simple as a glass of beetroot juice is not just hydration. It is a delivery system of protective compounds that actively participate in reducing one of the root causes of heart disease. As inflammation begins to decrease, the inner lining of the arteries, known as the endothelium, starts to recover its natural function, regaining its ability to regulate blood flow, control pressure, and release protective substances like nitric oxide. A healthy endothelium is essential for flexible, responsive blood vessels. And when it is protected from ongoing inflammatory damage, the entire cardiovascular system operates more efficiently and with less strain. What is even more fascinating is that research has shown dietary patterns rich in plant-based antioxidants are associated with lower levels of inflammatory markers in the blood, including C-reactive protein, which is commonly used by doctors as an indicator of cardiovascular risk. This means that inflammation is not fixed. It responds directly to the environment you create inside your body through daily choices, especially what you eat and drink consistently over time. Every meal that is rich in natural antioxidants sends a signal to your body that repair is possible, that protection is available, and that damage does not have to define your future health. On the other hand, every meal high in processed fats, refined sugars, and artificial ingredients sends the opposite signal, increasing oxidative stress and pushing the cardiovascular system deeper into dysfunction. This constant communication between food and biology is happening whether we are aware of it or not, shaping the condition of our arteries every single day. Beetroot, with its unique combination of nitrates and betalains, represents a rare example of a food that supports cardiovascular health through multiple mechanisms at once, improving blood flow while simultaneously reducing inflammation and oxidative damage. This dual action is what makes it so powerful in scientific studies, because it does not focus on just one pathway of disease, but addresses several interconnected processes that contribute to arterial decline. As inflammation decreases and blood flow improves, oxygen delivery throughout the body becomes more efficient, allowing organs to function with less strain and reducing the overall workload on the heart. Over time, this reduction in strain can have profound effects, helping to maintain healthier blood pressure levels and supporting long-term cardiovascular resilience. But perhaps the most important realization is that inflammation is not something that suddenly appears. It is something that builds slowly, influenced by countless small decisions repeated over years, which means it can also be reduced slowly through the same principle of consistency. There is no single moment where the body transforms from unhealthy to healthy, but there are countless small moments where healing either continues or is interrupted depending on what you choose each day. And this is where the true power of natural foods becomes clear, not as quick fixes, but as long-term allies in the body's ongoing effort to protect itself from damage. Every antioxidant-rich drink, every plant-based compound, every reduction in inflammatory load is a step away from disease and a step toward resilience. Your arteries are not passive tubes. They are living, intelligent tissues that respond to every signal you give them, every nutrient you provide, and every stress you place upon them. And when you consistently provide them with compounds that reduce inflammation, support repair, and protect against oxidative stress, you are not just preventing disease, you are actively participating in the maintenance of your own life at the cellular level. In the end, cardiovascular health is not determined by one dramatic decision, but by thousands of quiet ones, and each of those choices either adds to inflammation or helps dissolve it, either weakens your arteries or helps them recover their strength. And that is why understanding inflammation is not just medical knowledge, it is personal power. Because once you see what is happening inside your body, you can begin to change the outcome of what happens next. What most people fail to understand about heart health is that it is never destroyed in a single moment, and it is never protected in a single moment either. It is shaped slowly, silently, and relentlessly by the repetition of daily choices that seem insignificant at the time, but become powerful over months and years until they define the entire future of the body. Every heartbeat you experience today is the result of thousands of decisions made yesterday, last month, and last year. And scientists now understand that cardiovascular disease is not simply a genetic fate or an unavoidable consequence of aging, but a progressive condition that is deeply influenced by long-term patterns of behavior. In research studies on heart disease progression, one of the most consistent findings is that risk does not rise suddenly. It accumulates gradually, driven by sustained exposure to poor diet, inactivity, chronic stress, and inflammation that compounds like interest over time inside the arteries. This is why cardiologists often describe atherosclerosis as a silent process, because by the time symptoms appear, the biological damage has often been building for decades beneath the surface, unnoticed and unchallenged. But what is equally powerful and often ignored is the fact that healing follows the same rule as damage. It is not a single event, but a continuous process that depends on repetition, consistency, and long-term commitment to supportive habits. The human body is not static. It is constantly renewing itself, replacing cells, repairing tissues, and adapting to the environment it is placed in, which means that every day you either support that renewal or interfere with it through your choices. The inner lining of your blood vessels, known as the endothelium, is one of the most active tissues in the body, and it responds directly to lifestyle signals such as nutrition, stress levels, sleep quality, and physical activity. Studies in vascular biology have shown that endothelial function can improve or decline within weeks depending on diet and lifestyle patterns, proving that the state of your arteries is not fixed, but dynamic and responsive. This means that a single healthy drink, a single healthy meal, or a single workout does not create lasting change on its own, but repeated daily, those actions begin to reshape the biological environment inside your bloodstream. When you consistently provide the body with nitrate-rich foods like beetroot juice, you are not just temporarily increasing nitric oxide levels, you are repeatedly reinforcing a biochemical pathway that supports better blood flow and lower vascular resistance. But the key word here is consistency, because research shows that the benefits of dietary nitrates are most powerful when intake is regular, allowing the body to maintain stable nitric oxide production rather than experiencing short spikes followed by long gaps. Think about what that means inside your arteries. One day of support is helpful, but hundreds of days of support create measurable changes in vascular flexibility, blood pressure regulation, and overall cardiovascular efficiency. On the other hand, inconsistent habits send mixed signals to the body. Occasional healthy choices are easily overwhelmed by repeated exposure to processed foods, excess sugar, and sedentary behavior, which continuously promote inflammation and vascular stress. This is why long-term studies consistently show that cardiovascular outcomes are not determined by isolated actions, but by overall dietary and lifestyle patterns maintained over years. In large population research, individuals who follow consistent plant-rich dietary patterns, even if not perfect, show significantly lower rates of heart disease compared to those who fluctuate between extremes of healthy and unhealthy behavior. This suggests a powerful truth that is often overlooked in health conversations. Perfection is not required for protection, but consistency is essential for transformation. Every time you choose a heart-supportive habit, you are essentially making a small deposit into your long-term cardiovascular health, and those deposits accumulate silently in ways that only become visible later in life. In contrast, every repeated exposure to inflammatory foods or harmful lifestyle patterns acts like a withdrawal from that same biological account, gradually reducing the body's resilience over time. The cardiovascular system is especially sensitive to this accumulation effect because it operates continuously without rest, delivering oxygen and nutrients every second of every day, meaning even small improvements in blood flow efficiency can have enormous long-term impact. Research on endothelial adaptation shows that repeated exposure to healthy stimuli, such as exercise, antioxidant-rich foods, and nitric oxide-boosting nutrients, improves the responsiveness of blood vessels, allowing them to dilate more effectively and maintain lower pressure under stress. This is not just theory. It is measurable in clinical studies where individuals who adopt consistent lifestyle changes show improved arterial elasticity, reduced arterial stiffness, and better overall heart function within months. But what makes consistency so powerful is not just the biological response, it is the cumulative protection it builds against future risk. Heart attacks and strokes rarely occur in individuals who suddenly became unhealthy overnight. They occur in individuals where small risks were allowed to accumulate without interruption for years until a tipping point was reached. Consistency in positive habits prevents that accumulation from reaching critical levels, acting as a continuous counterforce against the natural progression of vascular aging and inflammation. Even something as simple as drinking 1 cup of a supportive beverage like beetroot juice daily becomes significant not because of its immediate effect, but because of its repeated influence on nitric oxide production, endothelial health, and blood pressure regulation over time. Each day of repetition reinforces vascular function like training a muscle, gradually improving efficiency, responsiveness, and resilience under physical and emotional stress. And just as disease builds silently, health also builds silently, meaning that you may not notice dramatic changes day by day, but inside your body, thousands of microscopic improvements are taking place with every consistent action. Over time, these microscopic improvements become macroscopic results: lower blood pressure readings, improved stamina, better circulation, and reduced cardiovascular risk that can literally extend both lifespan and quality of life. One of the most compelling findings in preventive cardiology is that even modest, consistent improvements in lifestyle reduce heart disease risk far more effectively than sporadic, intense efforts followed by long periods of neglect. This is because the cardiovascular system thrives on stability, rhythm, and predictable support, not extreme fluctuations that confuse the body's regulatory systems. Your heart responds to what you do most often, not what you do occasionally, which means your daily routine is far more powerful than any short-term intervention, and this is where personal responsibility becomes powerful rather than overwhelming, because it shifts the focus away from perfection and toward repetition, away from short-term motivation and toward long-term identity. You are not defined by one healthy choice or one unhealthy choice. You are defined by what you consistently repeat until it becomes your biological reality. When you understand this, health stops being a distant goal and becomes a daily practice, something built quietly through repetition rather than achieved suddenly through effort. And perhaps the most important realization is this: your future heart health is not being decided someday in the future. It is being decided right now in the choices you repeat today, tomorrow, and every day after that.